Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nocturne Society trial run of some episode streaming. There's a strange delay. So I thought I would take my new equipment that I just got and do a trial episode. First, I'll start with introductions. I am Chad. I created the Nocturne Society back in 2003, I think it was. It was a pretty popular website. Of course, that was before YouTube and all that stuff, and it was pretty popular. I got invited to do radio programs and stuff, or especially around Halloween. And the strange thing that always bummed people out, especially the radio programs, was that I am not a believer in the paranormal. I'm a skeptic. So I love ghost stories. I love paranormal investigations and cryptozoology and parapsychology, all that stuff. I love it. Not sure I believe it all. And that's what bums people out. So I'd go on these radio programs around Halloween, and you can go back in some of our audio archives here on YouTube to a Halloween episode, and it's I was on a radio program, and they're like, "So we're here with Chad, and he created the Nocturne Society website, and he believes in ghosts." And I'd be like, no, I don't really believe in ghosts. I've seen some strange things, had some weird stuff happen, but I can't conclusively say that I believe in ghosts. So that would always bum them out. And that's when they would usually turn to a backup guest or something like that. Because nobody wants to talk to the skeptic. And that's the problem with the paranormal community right now. In my opinion, everyone's on the ghost train. Nobody is questioning things or going, let's analyze this and see what's real and what's not. So I thought I'd start out by talking about that a little bit tonight. So when I had the Nocturne Society in full bore popularity, people would contact me and they'd send me pictures and they'd be like, "Hey, look at this scary thing I got a video of, or I got a picture of." And, the first thing I do when I see a video on YouTube or a picture that's supposed to be something paranormal is step outside of the situation there. Like, what is happening in this picture? What is the person taking the picture focusing on? Did they take the picture because they saw something weird? Or were they taking the picture of something and something weird happened in the video? Oftentimes, what I'll see is like the picture itself is nonsense. So they're taking a picture of the corner of a room, or they're taking a picture of a open doorway with nobody there. And so I always like to back clear up and say, what were you taking a picture of when you snapped this photo? And usually that's where the conversation ends. So I see a lot of that type of stuff, and then I see a lot of videos of just misunderstanding. I mean, people take a video and they're like, "Hey, look there's some strange orb moving across the screen." Well, okay. When a camera, especially a security camera, CCTV camera, is looking at an area, it's focused on that area. Anything closer than that outside area it's focused on is going to be out of focus and is going to blur and look like a floating orb or weird things moving around. So that could be dust. It could be an insect flying close to the camera. It could be an insect on the lens. There is a million things that it could be. And there's an old saying, when you hear hoofbeats outside, I'll say it like it's meant to be said. When you hear hoofbeats in the distance, don't assume it's unicorns. And what that means is start from what really exists. You know, it's probably not a unicorn, it's probably a horse. You know, let's start with reality and work our way back to the paranormal. Let's not start with the paranormal. So that's what I do when I'm analyzing stuff. Now, a lot of the YouTube videos I get or I see, I don't really get videos anymore. A lot of the YouTube videos I see are just that. It's like, what is the person doing? You know, why are they taking this video? But then there are others, and those are the ones that excite me. So I want to show a video right now, and just to give you some context to what the video is, we've got a guy who's a mine enthusiast. You may or may not have seen this video. It's not new, but he's a mine enthusiast. He's got hours and hours and hours of videos on his channel, where he's talking about mine structures, like back in the old 1800s, you know, when they were mining for gold, and he's into mines. He's not into ghosts. He's not into paranormal. You go through all of his videos, he's talking about mines. Now, he is not supposed to be there. I wouldn't say he breaks into them because they probably aren't sealed, but he goes into, he's trespassing, right? But he's going into these mines, which is dangerous and of course not something you should do. And he's not there to get freaked out and get scared. He is there because he's into mining and the old time mining stuff, and he's talking about mining. He's not talking about ghosts and paranormal. So in this video, he is in fact been sponsored by a flashlight company that is asking him to test their flashlights. And of course, what's darker than a mine? Nothing. So he's in there. He's got two goals. He's testing the flashlights, and he is talking about the mine that he has found. So I started it just before the weird stuff happened, so we get to talk about, you get to hear him talking about the mine and stuff, and then things get weird. And then let's talk about it after. All right, hold on. Let's take a look here.
Wow, crazy. And then you can see how big these timbers are. That's about almost a foot in diameter, the big cross timber. So they had to put big ones in here to hold up all of this rock. And you can see right here where some of these boards are bending. Do you hear that? Sounds like, what is that, wind? I don't know if you can hear that on the camera. Do you hear that? It stopped. Wow. I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound like wind, but that's crazy. Don't know if that's a bird or I don't know what that is. It almost sounds like snakes, but wow. I've heard some weird stuff in mines, but that is definitely creepy. I don't know what that is. So let's get out of here and head back out to the portal. That was weird. I don't hear it. Wow, that was strange. All right, so, Jesus. That's the Waldeck Mine main haulage tunnel, and this is the Through Night TN12 flashlight review and demonstration. So, highly recommended. The only one thing I could think of would be that it might need a diffuser tip, because See how it makes a white spot? Kind of washes everything out. So, well, I think I keep hearing something. That was strange. I hear the air blowing here. Wow. Anyway, great light. Check the description for more details on the lumens and a link to the Through Night website and other links to Amazon if you want to get this light.
Okay, so that video has some good things in it, and the number one thing is believability. Now, the problem with YouTube videos these days is that it all comes down to, do you believe the person that made this video? Because anything can be faked. So you could watch absolutely any video and it looks, oh my God, so authentic. It could be faked. Now, so what you have to dig through, you kind of have to be a detective and you have to dig through the BS. And so this guy has some good background. I mean, he's got like hours and hours and hours and hours of mine videos where nothing happened. So it's literally him talking about mines. And you can see in this video, he was freaked out. He was talking about the mine. He was freaked out. He was like, okay, I don't know what this is. I'm getting out of here. And he turns around and leaves and then continues back to the topic of the mine and the flashlight he's advertising or testing, and he's leaving the mine. He didn't dwell on something weird happened. He didn't over accentuate what had happened. It's him in a mine and something strange happened and he doesn't know how to explain it. And that's why this type of thing, could it be faked? Yes, of course. Everything could be faked, but this is more believable. So these are the type of things that I dig through when I'm looking at a video, and that's and the ones that are like that feel authentic like this one, that's what excites me. Now let's back up to what he actually heard. Let's talk about it as a paranormal thing. So like I said, horses to unicorns. So we want to start with horses. So he's in a mine and, it's a hole in the earth, and noise and sound travels strangely through it. Now, you don't know what's further down that path, and you don't know what is going to happen to the sounds. Because when it's bouncing around in that tunnel, you don't know what the echo is going to be like. So you're going to get a lot of echoing in there. Now, I'd love to go down the path of just jumping on board of this is all authentic and there's nothing fake about this, and let's talk about the spooks that could be in there, because there is a ghost called a Tommyknocker, and that is a person that has been buried in a mine and is knocking on the walls trying to get attention and get taken out. So there is lots of stories of Tommyknockers. They're really cool to hear. I have heard stories where they had a cave in. They know that there's no one there that survived. So this mine in particular that I had heard of, they had a cave in. They know there wasn't survivors behind the wall, behind the cave in. They knew, okay, everyone's dead. Months afterwards. So in a mine, you don't leave the mine to go take lunch. You take lunch in the mine. So they had a section marked out to where the miners would take their lunches. And it was near where the cave-in happened. So months after the cave-in happened, people taking their lunch in that room would hear hear knocking on the walls deep in the earth. And they, of course, knew nobody was there alive because there's nobody survived from the cave in. But that, they're saying that's the ghosts of the people that died in the cave in. So the company moved the lunch area because of the knocking. And it'd be so easy to go down this path of this video is Tommy knockers, obviously, because it sounds like, the video sounds like whispering. It's like you can almost make out words. But logically, so I've gone through this and looked at it a couple times. I don't think he's faking anything. I think what is happening to him is legitimate. I think he's reacting to what is happening. I don't think he has anything to do with what is happening here. It's just, and he doesn't claim to know what it was. He says, is this wind? Is it a bird? I don't know what this is. He's not trying to make something more out of it, to his credit. So, when you back up and listen to it again, I'll try to get to the same spot. He's talking. The sounds coming out of his mouth are going down into the mine, hitting walls and bouncing back at him. And then he stops. He's like, did you hear that? And he stops. And then when he stops, you hear ta 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 ta. And then it stops. He's like, oh, it stopped. Boy, I don't know what that was. And so he's talking again. These sounds are going down the mine, bouncing back at him, and then he hears it again. So if I'm to guess what it is, I mean, you don't know, is there pools of water down there? That is bouncing the sounds around strange? You don't know what's beyond there. But I noticed that when he talks and the sound comes to him, he stops, the sound stops. So that's something I noticed from the video, which makes me think it's probably just an echo. Let me see if I can get to that spot again. Hold on. Okay, I think I found it. All right, so let's listen to it again. And think of it not as there's ghosts down in the area, but think of it as in the area. Don't think of it as there's ghosts in the mines. Think of it as this is an echo.
These timbers that's about almost a foot in diameter, the big cross timber. So they had to put big ones in here to hold up all of this rock. And you can see right here where some of these boards are bending. Do you hear that? Sounds like what is that, wind? I don't know if you can hear that on the camera. Do you hear that? It stopped. Well, I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound like wind, but that's crazy. Don't know if that's a bird or I don't know what that is. It almost sounds like snakes, but wow. I've heard some weird stuff in mines, but that is definitely creepy. I don't know what that is. So let's get out of here and head back out to the portal.
Okay, you see what I mean? It's not perfect. Like I said again, it's they bounce around weird in a cave. So when you listen to it, it doesn't line up perfectly to be an echo. But you don't know how the sound is bouncing. So so this is one of those videos when people ask me about, do I think ghosts are real? Do I think strange things out there is real? This is what I point towards, because certainly there are explanations that could be made here, but I don't know what they are. And that brings me to the story I wanted to tell. Like, so I thought I'd start it tonight saying something that happened to me that I don't know what it is. Um, well, let me not do that story. Let me do this story. When I was growing up, my grandparents lived out in the country, out on a farm. I grew up in Iowa. So they lived out on a farm, and it was like most farmhouses, several bedrooms upstairs. They had their bedroom downstairs, their kitchen downstairs. There was an upstairs that was furnished. It had, let me think, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms upstairs. But it was just them, the two of them, and they did not really go up there. So they had it kind of as a storage thing. I mean, you go upstairs and there's furniture, it was furnished, but they didn't use it for anything. And when my mother was a child there, they had rooms upstairs, which they then moved downstairs. So then everyone was downstairs and nobody was using upstairs, which is, let's admit, that's strange. You have let's see, if they had 2 bedrooms downstairs, that's just like a 6-bedroom house and you don't use half of it. It's weird. But anyway, when I was growing up there, when I was growing up and we would go there, I didn't live there. My grandmother had made a room for me upstairs. It had a bed, it had a desk. So I would go out there, help them mow their lawn and stuff. After school, they'd pick me up at school, I'd go to mow their lawn, have dinner, and then I'd stay the night and they'd take me to school or home in the morning. Usually it was on a weekend or a Friday. And I always thought it was weird that when it came time to go to bed, they would have me come downstairs and sleep on the couch. And I was like, why? There's a bed upstairs in the room that you made for me to do my homework in. So why do I have to come down at night and sleep on the couch? Because, couches aren't that comfortable. And she always said, well, we just want you down here. I go, okay. And so, I don't know, I was probably junior high, high school, probably junior high. And I came home one time and I asked my mom, I was like, so why if grandma made a room for me upstairs, why do I have to sleep on the couch at night? I don't understand. And she said very bluntly, because there's a man upstairs that watches you while you sleep. And I was like, what? And she's like, there's a man upstairs that watches you when you sleep. It's been there since I was a little girl. And he's always there. He doesn't hurt you. But you open your eyes at night and he's standing at the foot of the bed. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And I said, this is baloney. And she said, if you don't believe me, go ask your father. She said, when we first got married, there was a month we lived with my parents before we found a house to live in. And he saw him. Now, you, of course, all don't know my father, but I know my father, and he's kind of a no bullshit person when it comes to this stuff. So I went to my dad and I said, Mom tells me that there's a guy upstairs in grandma's house that watches you while you sleep. And he kind of ignored me. And I was like, she says, you saw it? And he goes, I don't want to talk about this. And when Dad said he doesn't want to talk about something, he doesn't want to talk about it. So I just let it go. But it nagged at me, So I continued prying. And finally, he kind of angrily said, okay, I'm going to tell you, but you aren't going to want to go to your grandmother's ever again. I'm like, okay, I can handle that. And he said, when Your mom and I got married. We stayed out there in the upstairs room. And your mom had told me about this thing that watches you while you sleep. And he said, I never believed it. And he said that one night they were asleep in the bed. And all of a sudden, she's shaking him awake. She's like, there he is right there. He's right there. And he said, Chad, I opened my eyes and it looked so much like a man standing at the end of the bed that I dove to try to grab him because I thought there was a strange man in the room. And he said, yeah, I just fell on the floor. I went through it. So I saw it. I don't know what's going on or why it's there. So that was a shocking thing for me. But that's not where the story ends. My parents, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what team you're on, got divorced. And my youngest sister, I was the oldest of 5. My youngest sister was still with my mother then. And they moved out to my grandmother's house. So that meant my sister was out there with the thing in the attic that they, of course, didn't tell her about. And my dad got a call one day from my sister. This was well after the divorce had happened. They were separated. And he got a call from my sister saying, Dad, come out to Grandma's place. There's someone out here. And he's like, so what are you talking about? There's someone out here. Mom and Grandma went to the store and I'm out here by myself and there's someone banging on the door. And he's like, okay, I'll be out. I'll be out. I just got to get a coat. And he got his stuff and he was trying to find, he got kind of distracted, admittedly, because he felt a salesman had come to the house, was knocking on the door and scaring her because she's out there alone. There's nobody else. So he went back, he got distracted and he went back and he called the house because he was going to say, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'm leaving now. She didn't answer. So he was, of course, very concerned then and hightailed it out to Grandma's house. And he said when he was pulling up to the house, she was out sitting in the yard. And he's like, Ann, when someone's pounding on the door, you don't go outside. What is happening? And she said, not the door to the house, the door to the upstairs. So whatever was upstairs was pounding on the door to the downstairs. Now, I had heard stories of it running up and down the stairs because there's a room underneath the stairway, which is the room my mom and her sister stayed in after they got done being upstairs. And they said they would hear it at night walking up and down the stairs all night. But I'd never heard of it pounding on the door to get downstairs. That was new. Now, that was one of the stories that inspired me to start the Nocturne Society. I'm like, I wanted to investigate this stuff. I'm the type of person that I have to know what is behind that door. I would have opened it. So, unfortunately, my journey took me out to California, away from Iowa. And by the time I got back and was able to investigate something like this, the house had been torn down and my mother had built a new house on top of it. And there has been no sign of it since. So whatever it was appears to, I don't know, have been part of the house or whatever. I don't know. Again, I'm a skeptic. I would have to be there and hear it and see it for myself. And I personally never came across anything strange at Grandmother's house. And I had spent time upstairs. The only strange thing I had happen at Grandmother's house was my mother has a Ouija board. Now, she had it when she was a little girl. So it was one of those original Milton Bradley Ouija boards from the 60s or 70s. No, not 60s or 70s. It had to be before that, because I was born in the 60s or the 70s. So anyway, I've still got it. I've got the box. I've got the Ouija board. And at the time I was playing with it, it was at Grandma's house. And I know you're not supposed to play with the Ouija board by yourself. But I know there's a lot of factors that could make something like this happen, because it has felt feet on the little oracle and it's a very polished surface. So keep that in mind. Keep your logic feet on the ground. So when you I put my fingers on the oracle, and when I put my fingers down, it felt to me like it slid right out from under my fingers and like out from under my hands. I didn't push it. I put my fingers down and it felt like it crawled out from under my hand. That was the only weird thing that ever happened to me at Grandma's house. And like I said, that in no way proves of any kind of paranormal existence. So this was just a test to see how the equipment is, how jumping back and forth between the desktop, how the new mic is. I thought I'd do a little test stream here and see what I think. I'm going to leave this up for a while and see if it gets any views. If you got any advice for me doing this, let me know. Tell me what you think. It'd be great to hear. But that's it for now. How long was that? I don't even see. YouTube doesn't even really have a very good. Looks like 10 minutes. No, it had to be longer than that. Anyway, like I said, I'm new to the YouTube streaming. I've done streaming before, but not on YouTube. Anyway, so I'm going to try to get this going. Hopefully more than once a month. I've got a podcast over on Podbean. Nocturne Society is on Twitter. It is on Facebook. I'm having Facebook problems. I can get on there and edit it and update it, but I've got that weird bug. Have you ever heard of it? When you go to Facebook and it just does redirecting infinitely until it doesn't let you to the website. You ever had that? It's strange. And it happens on any browser. So anyway, we're on Twitter. We're on YouTube, obviously. We're on Facebook, Nocturne Society. And I've got the blog, Nocturne Society, as well. And Podbean. I've got all the podcasts. Well, most of the podcasts. I filled up Podbean as much as they would let me. So we're going to try to get these going on here, these live chats, and obviously there's no one in here right now because I just started. Nobody knows I exist. So there's nobody in the chat, but I'm hoping we can get some back and forth and some questions and hear some other people's stories. And on the podcast, I get guests in there. So I hope you all enjoy it. There's a lot of paranormal crap out there right now. Most of it is crap. But I hope you find this different and informational. So thank you very much. And we'll see you next time. Oh, and do you like the ghostly color? It's like we're doing one of those nighttime video paranormal investigations. Okay. Bye, guys.